Welcome to part 2 of the new to UTK video series on social emotional learning and purposeful play.
Kind of in the middle between universal or individual supports is the idea of a feelings chart. And I know I've had primary teachers that I've worked with where as they walked in, they had this chart on the wall. And as they're walking by, they would tell the teacher how they're feeling when they came in. Lafayette, I was there just this morning. Monica and Holly do a beautiful thing in the morning where they have the kids turn and talk and they tell each other how they're feeling and why. And at this point in the year, they actually say, I'm feeling happy because, so it's like this complete sentence. It's just a beautiful way to help teach them how to do some of this thinking again, when they're not in the moment of being upset. Another thing that you can do for individual students is helping them with the language, right? So some of that language that you may come in handy, telling somebody stop, stop, I can't talk right now, right? So, being okay with that and helping them understand that might be a tool or some verbiage they can use. You may need to help teach them, I need to move. I know I've seen several classrooms where they have a chair next to the carpet. So they have a carpet space and they have a chair and, they can choose to kind of help self-regulate themselves, right? Or the teacher may say, I think maybe the chair might be better right now for you, so again, co-regulating with them. I need a break. Carolyn's going to go over that again later, but these are things you need to teach. I feel blank when you blank. Again, at Lafayette, it's obvious that the teachers have been working on this throughout the year. Just the other day during recess time, someone was upset with someone and all I said was, I feel, and they ran with it. They filled in the rest of that sentence. So teaching them how to use the language of being expressing themselves. The other thing down in the bottom here is a monster. So if you have someone who has anxiety, I've seen this being used in classrooms where they create this really cute little monster and they may not even be able to write yet, right? Obviously, they may not know the words, but they can draw, right? So maybe something they're anxious about and they put it in the monster is going to gobble it up and take care of that. So those are just some things you can do in your classroom, and that could be an individual support or a universal support for your classroom. Carolyn.
Sorry, I always forget to unmute myself. Hi, I'm Carolyn Carteret. I'm a teacher with Behavior Support Resources, and I'm happy to be here today. We're going to talk for a minute about taking a break. So the first thing I wanted to kind of go over is, we've all heard about taking a break. We've all heard about break areas, but to talk a little bit about why this is such an effective strategy. So from a definition standpoint, taking a break is taking a pause in work or during an activity or event. If we stop and think about this as grown adults and who we all are today, we're taking breaks all the time. Many times they're kind of natural breaks. They may not look the same as the type of break that we might be teaching our 4 and 5-year-olds in the classroom, but it's still taking a break by definition and moving away from an activity or event or situation that may be making us feel uncomfortable. So taking the break is actually a proactive strategy. It's not, some students initially could use it to try to get out of doing something, but we have strategies within the procedure for taking a break to help structure it in a way that the student isn't able to use it in that fashion. But when used proactively, it can eliminate for many students the need to escape. We know all behavior is about either escape or access. So a student might be escaping an area of the classroom or the classroom altogether in order to get away from something that they don't want to do, or a person that is placing demands on them, or something like that, right? So if we have a break area within the structure of our classroom, we can prompt the student to go to that area where we can still be monitoring for safety. So proactive strategy to provide an appropriate way of escaping. We do this all the time. I'm in the middle of a staff meeting and I'm like, oh, this is a snoozer. I might get up and go to the restroom. I might get up and go get a drink of water. I might slyly pull my phone over and take a quick peek at something that might be happening on my phone. These are all breaks: physical break, cognitive break, emotional break. They're all breaks, and we do it all the time. So if we need it and we do it to regulate ourselves, our students will likely be needing to do that as well. Okay, so the goal of a break for some is to prevent an emotional or physical outburst. So, you know, as we were just discussing on a previous slide, talking about those goals for UTK in terms of being able to be self-aware. I can't really manage my emotions if I can't even be aware of them. If I need somebody to tell me I look like I'm feeling angry, I'm probably not going to come up with a solution on my own if I can't identify that. So self-awareness and self-management sound like the two areas that we're really focusing on within your classrooms. And by using the break proactively, it can really help to prevent that emotional or physical outburst. So again, what we're doing is we're teaching them something to do instead of what might be the current problem behavior. Maybe we have someone who's hitting, maybe we have someone who's running around the room, running out of the room, having a quote meltdown. This would be a strategy that we would explicitly teach, just like any other concept within the course of our day. And we practice it and we do it together. We model it, we reinforce it when they're doing it correctly. And all of those things will lead to the student likely using that intervention again. Okay, so last thing here, students of all ages make up excuses to leave the classroom. This isn't, you know, just in a four-year-old room, all across the board. Their cognitive abilities and language skills are developed enough to find appropriate ways to escape, like asking to use the restroom, but others may need to be taught this skill. So obviously we're not going to be teaching our kids to use the restroom to take a break. That's more of a natural thing that we kind of come up with later when our mind is a little bit more sophisticated. But here we're going to teach them the specific procedure for doing that. And there's lots of ways to do that. Let's take a look at some examples and some of the components of a procedure for taking a break. Okay, so we're going to kind of walk through some of this. So space, taking a break. We need a designated space to do that within the structure of our classroom. Kind of just to talk about some do's and don'ts. Yes, we do want a designated space for taking a break. We don't want that space to be what I call a multi-purpose space. We don't want that space to be in the library, for instance, because the library is where we sit and we read books, right? And for some of us, sitting and reading books can be one of our favorite things ever to do. It would be very reinforcing. So when we're determining where our space can be in our classrooms, we want to keep in mind that break areas or calming corners, or whatever name we want to give it, we want it to be a neutral area. It's not a reward. We're not going there to do the things we love to do, our favorite things, whether that's drawing, reading a book, being on a computer, etc. We're not rewarding, but we're also not punishing. We're not telling our students they have to go there. We might need to prompt it or suggest it, especially at the age of your students, and say, your body looks like it might need a break. I might model that during the day and say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Boys and girls, I'm going to take a quick break. And they're all just going to be like, what? But it's a great way to model that even I, the teacher, need a break. So we want that to be neutral, not punishing, not rewarding. And we want it to be a designated space. So it's great to find a little nook somewhere. This is a pretty sophisticated picture in the lower right corner of a break area, but you can see it has a comfy spot to relax. We typically use beanbag chairs a lot in our break areas. And another reason a beanbag is great is what happens when you fall into a beanbag. It's squishy and it kind of just conforms and hugs your body. So not only am I getting a place that feels like I can relax and kind of let my body go, but I might be getting a little bit of compression or some other physical need that may be comforting and helping me to calm down. Within that break area space also, we may have some pictures and some procedures and instructions, because it's one thing for the student to get there, and then it's like, what do I do? And if it isn't clear to the student what I do when I get to the break area, most likely our students are going to kind of come up with their own plan. And many times when we leave it to our students to come up with their own plan, it doesn't always match our plan, does it? So it's best to have a specific procedure. We might go in there, and step one may be to identify my feeling. So again, with that feelings chart that you see here, it's the same one Allison shared. We may be able to teach our students to say, well, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling angry, or maybe I'm feeling tired. And once I identify the feeling, step two will be to find pictures of strategies I can do that match up with that feeling. So if I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling angry, there might be some things I can do to calm down, such as smelling the flower and then blowing out the candle. And we have pictures of these because, of course, all of your kids aren't going to be reading, but these are just examples of how we can structure the area with visual supports, a procedure and a plan that we are teaching to the students before they need it. So this is a whole group lesson. We can take turns practicing these strategies together so that then when they see them in the break area, they already know what to do with that. And so again, lots of ways that you can structure your break area. A timer, we see a timer on the screen here, and I specifically chose the visual timer. I'm sure a lot of you have these in your classroom, but of course, again, with a 4-year-old, we want the timer to have meaning, right? If I just set a digital timer, I'm not sure they're going to comprehend what that means. But this is very clear. We have this much time, and when the red is all gone, break is all done. Obviously, if I have a student that seems to appear that they're not completely calmed down or at what we call baseline, I may ask that student, how are you feeling now? Are you ready, or do you think you need one more minute? And we give them the option of requesting that. One, because when students are escalated, they're many times also kind of looking for some level of control in their environment, and giving kids structured choices is a way of giving them some power, some voice, some choice within what's happening to them next. So obviously it's not a good idea when a student clearly continues to look overwhelmed to force them to leave the break area. So part of our procedure, we're going to have that designated area. We may be asking, or at least having our kids practice requesting a break. So you see some break cards where they could go pull a break card to request. Again, I wouldn't expect that independently of your students, but it's something we could work towards. So we might prompt a break. Your body looks like it might need a break, and I might hold the card and hand it to the student and pair that card with my words, just to keep moving towards that independence. I'm going to set the timer. And again, we can teach the students to go through this routine on their own. Set that timer for 5 minutes, identify how I'm feeling, identify what my calming choices are, and then ask myself, does my body feel ready to go back? And I just put some pictures on here as well of some fidgets and things. A lot of times it's kind of switching the thinking for kids. They're perseverating on something somebody did to them, or somebody said to them, or something they're predicting is going to be hard. And sometimes just getting their mind to think about something else. That's why I love the kaleidoscope in the middle. It takes them into that wonderful land of color and patterns, and within a few minutes, they've forgotten what they were upset about and they're ready to go, especially when they hear the fun that everybody else is having over there.
I want to talk about movement and why movement is important. So movement is how young, actually all of us naturally self-regulate. We move, first, like for example, Carolyn was talking about a meeting. A lot of people get up and stand up, or take that natural break of getting getting a drink of water, or going. So regular scheduled movement really helps reduce that physiological stress, because we're in sympathetic fight or flight. One thing that calms it down is breathing and movement. Movement is also important because it helps with brain development, especially at this age. They really need to interact in a three-dimensional environment to gain spatial skills, to know where their body is in space, where their body is in conjunction with others. So, this is how young individuals really, experience their environment. And also information is better retrieved when it is connected through movement. Exercise also puts the brain and body back into balance, improves movement and behavior, gets the blood flowing, gets oxygen to the brain. So it is, it's wonderful. Movement is great. So if you do, and ironically, I'm sitting here telling you this. So go ahead for the next slide. So how to integrate movement in the class? Just now, for 4-year-olds, the average attention span is about 8 to 12 minutes. So if you can integrate some form of movement every 10 minutes, that would be great. So this could be just like a natural transition from going from one center to another, or it could be as simple as like, all right, everyone stand up and stretch for the reach for the sun, 1, 2, and done. And there's no right way. I would just encourage is read the room, see if this, you can read the students, see when they're getting antsy, see when they're getting stressed out, and you could really quickly redirect them to, okay, let's take a deep breath now and move on, or let's just clap once, clap twice, and move on. So yeah, there's just so many ways to incorporate movement into the class, and integrated movement would be considered one of those universal supports. So the next slide, we're talking a little bit about movement and breathing, because breathing is also very calming. And we talked about the flower and candle things of, you smell the flowers, blow out the candle. So that really facilitates that really deep breaths. So slow, controlled, deep breaths engage our parasympathetic nervous system, and that really helps our calming response. Also, when we engage in deep breaths, that's more oxygen, and more oxygen, feeds our brain cells. So young, students, they need that modeling. So it's just not like take a breath, so we really need to guide that through that. Like as for the visual here, it's like smell the flower, 1, 2, and now blow the pinwheel, 1, 2. So we want them to learn how to take those slow, deep breaths, and can do it, individually or as a classroom. Okay, so the next slide. So, actually go back one. So, a lot of these carpet time activities, it's really hard for me. Actually, I don't even think I'm on camera, to demonstrate, because they're things that you do on the down, like, cross crawls, and I can do that right now, is, standing, touching your right hand to your left knee, your left hand to the right knee, which is really great movement, because it's getting the, both sides of the brain to work together. Bridge position, which is good for core strengthening, same as crab walk, cat pose, plank positions, dog positions, tree poses, and bear walks. So all of these, you will get a copy of the PDF copy of the slides, do have YouTube links of models on how to do these positions. But these are really calming, or really good, because you're getting a lot of input to the muscles and joints. So you really encourages them to know where they are in space, and to develop their body positioning. For transitioning from carpet to desk or anytime, these are really quick ways, like call and response. Clap once, clap twice, or you can clap a pattern, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's alerting, and it really grabs their attention. You can have them jump in place, and that either jump, or hopping from one rotation to another, and that is really alerting and gets them alert and awake and helps them pay attention. Or as I said earlier, it's just standing and stretching, stand, reach for the sky, breathe in, breathe out, and bring your arms to your sides. Other things are like, all right, everyone, just give yourselves a hug. And that's gonna be really calming. Oops.
We have 1 minute left, Andrew.
1 minute left. I was busy giving myself a hug. All right, so
Good job.
those are things. There's so many movement resources, like Go Noodle, and a lot of people know about that. Pure Edge, they just recently give some presentations across the district that has a free curriculum. There's a lot of yoga for kids, or those yoga poses or yoga movements. So you don't have to engage in the yoga philosophy, but the movements are awesome. There's 20, movement songs, Jack Hartman. So these are just a list of some, and that there's many, many ways to have some movement.